diving into number 15 St. John's in the latest AP Top 25 poll at Georgetown. Rematch of the matchup a couple weeks ago that you saw in person. Georgetown blew a 15-point lead in that one, lost by 5 as 9-point underdogs. So the Hoyas did cover despite the Johnnies winning that one outright. Davion Smith did not play then, and he's already been ruled out as of Monday for this game, still dealing with the shoulder dislocation, I believe, and Pitino saying that he has to practice before he plays. Clearly, he didn't practice in the last 6 days since the St. John's Red Storm came back against Xavier. You go back to the first meeting, Georgetown, 19 turnovers. So that concerns me a little bit against this Johnny's press, pretty much a staple under a Rick Pitino defense. But I wonder if the number is still slightly inflated because we go back to that St. John's Xavier game that we handicapped and recapped on Friday's show. St. John's now riding a 12-game winning streak with that game included, and Xavier arguably should have won. So is St. John's inflated in the market coming off 12 straight wins and maybe a luck box cover involved in that winning streak?
Yes, most definitely. Probably should have lost in regulation. Won in overtime for sure. That wasn't really debatable. So the shot quality score does show a win. But again, you win by 8 in overtime and you only win the shot quality by 3. It usually indicates that you lost the regulation by shot quality. I'm not really sure how you judge what they've seen. Definitely a little bit of like one of those false flat spots if you like, spot taxes with Providence and Marquette coming to town to start February. And like you said, they've won one of the nation's best winning streaks right now. And the efficiency metrics are a little high on them. We have them around the 46th best team in the nation. It's really not the offense. What you're seeing with the offense is what you're getting, 1.15 points per possession or 114.2 from Ken Pom per 100. Those are relatively within an error on both sides for both models. But the defense, 0.95 to 0.91, is indicative of a team that is getting lucky, especially from the mid-range, especially finishing at the rim. I do think Zubi Ejiofor has a lot of impact, but Sorber kind of missed part of that game at the end for Georgetown. Do they cover? Do they win? What happens there? I do think this is a tough spot to go into. Decently well coached. St. John's struggling a little bit with the coach and stuff. Like out of the timeout, they are not developing good shots, like at all. Probably one of the biggest red flags I have with my favorite college basketball team. It's not to say that, what's going on with Georgetown is much better, but they are actually defending out of the timeout well. And I mean, Sorber's reach is so tough to gauge. So I think there is maybe some potential for shot quality, maybe misunderstanding his dominance with that, like in terms of just how, positioning with that like size can lead to altered shots that maybe don't normally get altered. That is definitely a limitation that you need to be aware of when you have NBA-sized players going against guys that don't see it every game. That's something that can mess stuff up. So Georgetown a little bit lower rated on defense and offense themselves, but expected to have a 6.6 regression at the rim is probably like half of that's probably Sorber's arms. So let's give him a little bit of credit. I do think Georgetown is the move here. I will be taking, I think it's 4.5 right now as it's opening for tomorrow's game against St. John's at home. You look, it's a lot of blocks and steals from these Johnnies. You're going to need a good game from RJ, and I just don't think you're going to get it. The distribution, you need like Kadari and RJ Lewis and Aaron Scott are both going to have great games. Simeon Wilcher is going to have a great game. One or two of those guys isn't on their stuff, it's not going to happen. Like all 5 of the starters will kind of go crazy.
To that point, RJ Lewis, Kadari Richmond in the mid-range, we know how reliant St. John's, especially Richmond, is on that mid-range jump shot. Georgetown's mid-range defense, they rank in the 7th percentile in terms of mid-range twos allowed per game this season, 81st percentile in terms of mid-range efficiency allowed at 30.8%. But you look over the last 5, and we've seen a regression in that category, 30.9% in terms of the 2-point mid-range efficiency allowed to the opposition. So I'm a little bit concerned that maybe that blows back in their face, continues to blow back with St. John's coming off of a 5-day rest advantage, essentially.
Yep. Yeah, hasn't played in a long since Xavier. That's crazy.
Right. And then good spot to back Georgetown, but you mentioned the tax coming off of 4 losses in their last 5 games. Also, you go back to the last matchup. Georgetown outbattled St. John's on the glass per se, 44-38, which is hard to do against Zuby Ejiofor. Sorber dealt with foul trouble and also left the game late.
They played his foul trouble well, though. I gotta hand it to Cooley and Co. Like they did a good job. Like they're not timid with it. They trusted their guy. Why is a foul in the 19th minute different than the 21st minute? You tell me. It's not. I'm new age analytics, so
which I'm surprised Cooley has adapted to.
Yeah,
with his stature as a veteran, older coach per se.
Good for him. It's gonna keep your guys on the floor longer, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, it can matter which minute they play, but mathematically, it really doesn't. Like, of course, clutch minutes matter, but if you get X points per minute out of a guy, you just want him on the floor to maximize his minutes, even if he misses minute 40 or minute 39. If he's on the floor for an extra 8 minutes, maybe you don't need him in minute 39, right? So, like, how that all works, how you approach that as a coach, and using your guys is so interesting and can limit or boost your team if you do it right. And again, it's all chance. It's like going for it on 4th down. Sometimes you look great doing the wrong thing. Sometimes you look stupid doing the right thing. It's very similar with fouls. So, it's tough.
For sure. And we'll see how he plays it this time around, or if Sorber even gets in foul trouble. But looking at, you mentioned how much of an impact Ejiofor can make, especially on the offensive glass, and down low as a post-up player for that matter. But you look at his post-up defense, surprisingly, per synergy, he ranks in the 54th percentile of points per possession allowed on opponents' post-up touches. So Sorber could have a bit of an edge down low, and he and this Georgetown offense, very, very efficient, hyper-efficient, elite efficiency for that matter, with their post-up offense. Georgetown also fighting for any at-large consideration. They would have to go on a run, granted, but it could start here. It would need to start here against St. John's at home. Very similar spot to Xavier against UConn on Saturday, despite Georgetown being a little bit more so outside of the at-large conversation. But you're looking at the Hoyas at 4.5. I'm going to wait to see, and maybe we'll see how the market moves. I'm going to wait to see how the market moves too. I like Georgetown. I'm just a little bit concerned with the turnovers maybe playing a little bit more of a role if St. John's can get out on the break with live ball turnovers. And then also rebounding. Will Georgetown be able to control the glass like they did against an elite St. John's rebounding team on both sides of the floor led by Ejiofor?
Yep, I'm fully with you. I think there might be some movement, and I'm not sure if it's going to 100% be something I lock in, but I would definitely lean towards Georgetown.